So, we tell people kind of getting to retirement, the formula isn't very difficult, right? Save money in a retirement plan, spend less than you make. So we create awareness about all those moving puzzle pieces. Then we provide education. So we create the awareness, provide the education. If they think they can do it on their own, fantastic. If they don't, and they need a professional to act as a shepherd in that, then we provide that leadership in that.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, this is Max Pittman with WriteForMe, and you're listening to another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast, where we interview experts who are scaling their businesses. And today we're talking about Thrive Financial Services with Mr. David Bezar, who is the managing partner at Thrive. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey Max, thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And you've been in this industry for a super long time, and love to give you the opportunity to kind of tell your story. So if you don't mind, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and why you started Thrive?
Sure. It always saddens me when people say you've been in this for a super long time, but I totally get it. It's all good. Yeah, I've been in the financial planning business for 32 years now, and I've started up a number of companies and exited and started up and exited. And I will tell you, this is my final one. I'm going to be 60 years old in July of this year, and kind of in the sunset of my career per se. But still plenty of fuel in the tank and having a good time. Throughout my career, I would say I was kind of one of your standard financial advisors, where my primary focus was working with young families, middle-aged families, helping them kind of see the future and plan accordingly, and pretty much give them guidance on their investment so that whatever those goals and dreams were, whether they were short or mid or long-term goals, my goal was to help them through investment management, get to that point. And later in my career, I guess it was around 2014, when I started to recognize is that as my clients were aging, they started asking questions that I didn't have answers to. And that's never a good thing. It wasn't a good thing for they're relying on me to be their kind of central focus of truth. And it also kind of eliminates the stickiness of a client if I have to start talking to, other professionals.
Sure.
So, mind shift went off and said, look, if I'm going to, now that my clients are aging and they're getting closer to retirement age and things of that sort, the analogy I used, I had to make a shift. The analogy was I had to go from a starting pitcher position, Major League Baseball, right, the starting pitcher position, into a relief pitcher. So rather kind of, going from a generalist to a specialist.
Yeah.
I had to kind of figure out what are all the potential questions, and then I had to make sure I had all the answers for those so that I could deliver, the service needed for my clientele, but at the same time create longevity for my business. And that's kind of how Thrive Financial and Thrive Capital Management launched.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So when did the company start? And so you guys are now experts in what specifically?
Yeah, I would say that we are experts in tax efficient retirement income planning. It really is it's a pretty specialized space within financial planning. And it's also an area that gets very overlooked by the traditional industry. I don't think our industry is actually set up to help people retire successfully. What we talk about in our business is we create awareness in people about what they need to know. There's a lot of moving puzzle pieces when it comes to retirement. Mm-hmm. You have Social Security decisions, you have Medicare decisions, you have investment and risk management decisions, you have taxes, you got to deal with healthcare costs. So, we tell people kind of getting to retirement, the formula isn't very difficult, right? Save money in a retirement plan, spend less than you make. let that money compound over 20 or 30 years, and then you should have a nest egg to retire off of. The challenge is nobody gets kind of the operations manual of how to distribute that money and make it last a long time, especially with all the conditions that we've got today, like inflation, higher taxes, market volatility, and then people are living longer today too. So they have to plan for a much longer period of time. So we create awareness about all those moving puzzle pieces. Then we provide education, right? We get into teaching them. Like, we start conversations that people didn't necessarily know they needed to have. And we do that by asking them questions they didn't realize they needed to have answers to. And it really creates a great scenario back and forth. And if they need us, right, then we provide the leadership piece. So we create the awareness, provide the education. If they think they can do it on their own, fantastic. If they don't, and they need a professional to act as a shepherd in that, then we provide that leadership in that. And I think that's what really makes us very different than your traditional financial advisor or financial planning company. We touch everything, we know everything related to retirement, and then we go through that 3-step process.
Gotcha. So definitely sounds like it's a fully managed services process from kind of start to finish for what you guys are focused in on, which is tax efficient retirement income planning, which is something that I need to talk to my CPA about.
And look, I have no disrespect for some of my best friends are CPAs. We have a CPA staff internally within our firm.
Yeah.
But what we've learned about people in the accounting field, the enrolled agent, and the CPA space, typically, it's mostly debits and credits.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of forward tax planning, right? Accountants, CPAs tend to look at what already has happened and then figure out what to do based on what's already happened. What we try to do is look into the future and anticipate the next moves and position things so that we're most tax efficient. So it's an advanced approach as compared to a reactive approach.
Yep. So who are you typically working with? Like, what types of, individuals, or, do you have any strategic partnerships? Love to just kind of understand who you guys are actually working with and who's using the services.
Yeah, so our end user of our services is your typical pre-retiree or retiree. So somebody that's, 50 plus years old up to, kind of an age that they still need to retire, maybe in their early 80s or so. Kind of conservative in nature from a financial planning. They've got retirement assets, IRA money, 401k, things of that sort. And somebody who comes to an understanding that they actually need a plan. Yeah. So that's who our end user of our services are. And we meet those people through omni channels of marketing, all kinds of different. We have podcasts, we have a radio show, we do seminars, the traditional seminars, we do tons of webinars, all those types of things. From a resource perspective, we try to become as autonomous as we can. So we have we have attorneys, we have CPAs, we have investment advisors, we have estate planners, financial planners, CFPs, so on and so forth. So they're all within our ecosystem, and that helps us be autonomous and, from a business perspective, kind of control the client experience as compared to taking the risk that maybe an outside vendor doesn't have the same core values that we do. Sure. And isn't all about the client experience like we are.
Gotcha. So let's pivot there to the business really quick. So as you guys have lots of, sounds like, channels that you're doing syndication, multimedia on, trying to continue to get the Thrive business name out there. And, what is the biggest challenge that you guys are facing right now as an organization?
We're really on kind of a really good trajectory as far as growth. We've been in the Inc. 5000 for the past 3 years now. And we had a little bit of I don't want to call it a setback, but kind of a drought period at the fourth quarter of last year. And we just huddled up as a team and kind of started looking at maybe what caused that. And we just went into blitz mode again. And, I'm sure as well, it's just like, if you have systems that have worked in the past, you just kind of get back to your core. and then throw the dollars at it, and the ROI kind of follows. So I would say the biggest challenge is kind of building infrastructure. Like, we've hired a number of people. We're now a staff of 36 people. 6 of those people have come in the last quarter in anticipation of the additional growth that we'll see. So it's just that whole process, onboarding new people, getting them acclimated. Let me even take a step back. Finding people in the type of marketplace that we have today, right? It's such a competitive marketplace. So it did take a little bit longer to get the staff to the level that we wanted to. Sure. And then, just trying to acclimate them into the culture, learning the technologies, things of that sort.
So it sounds like business and scaling, but what about from like a class or education perspective, and how, I don't know, how taxes can change and how writing of the tax laws can change? Like, how are you guys, approaching that specific challenge too?
Yeah, we kind of geek out on that stuff. We've got a number of folks within the organization. We're signed up for all kinds of periodicals. We've got people actually watching bills that are going through Congress to kind of see what's happening on the legislative front when it comes to taxes. It's definitely a moving target. And we operate and we tell our clients that we work on what's actionable today because we don't know what will be actionable tomorrow. We try to stay ahead of it as best as we can, but we've got an interesting Congress right now, so a lot of things are kind of in a stalemate situation. But that, we have the internal mechanisms to stay on top of what's happening.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like that might be a little bit of your secret sauce almost. But you tell me, like, why would someone choose you guys over the competition? Is it because of how you guys are thinking about tax efficiencies? How you guys are approaching the market? Like, what is that secret sauce that you guys have?
Well, I think it's a couple things. One is, again, like I said earlier, I think our industry isn't necessarily set up properly. Traditional financial advisors talk to their clients about what they get paid to do, which is primarily manage money, right? Just give investment advice. Right. When clients have all these other questions in the periphery, the advisor goes, those are great questions, but you should probably talk to Social Security, or you should talk to CPA or an estate planning attorney. So the way we've set up our business is that we're very client centric, right? We want to kind of rotate. We want to be the quarterback for them. We want to be able to give them the answers and then back that up with the fulfillment of whatever it's needed. So I think that differentiates us a bit. It's that all-encompassing plan. And then I think it's the education first approach. We train very intensely on how to almost unenroll people. We only want to work with people that want to work with us. There's an old cliche that says, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still, right? So I don't want to look, I'm going to be 60 years old. I've done this for 32 years. I don't want to battle anybody. I don't want to be a hard sell. Like, we want to show you everything that we do. We want to give you that awareness, that education. It should kind of be a no-brainer that you should do business with us. And what's interesting is, I would say close to 90% of our existing clientele had a previous financial advisor. Yeah. They had the starting pitcher, and then they brought us in for relief to finish the game.
So how would someone like myself, who maybe is, in his mid 30s, starting to think about different ways to, think about my future, where I do have a financial planner, I have a CPA, I own a home, like, how can I consume this information and this education, about what you guys are doing? Like, how can someone like myself, or, maybe someone who may be better of a target for you, like, what's the best way to consume your education?
Yeah, again, because of all the omni-channel that we have, there's so many sources that you can kind of enter our ecosystem. Okay. If you're looking for education first, it's our website, which is thrivefinancialservices.com. It's easy. There's tons of information on there. white papers, we've got a video library of pretty much every topic. We run a blog on there, all those different types of things. On our website is the ability to register for any of our upcoming educational seminars or webinars. And we always offer complimentary consultations. So like we do a 15-minute free discovery call. If that wants to expand further, we can do that as well. We don't charge for those consultations. And we pretty much give you everything at those particular points. What people would ultimately go through after that discovery process is we have a number of deliverables that we provide that cover all the bases. Now, for someone like yourself who's younger and not that close to the age retirement, right? You may be ready to retire soon because all the great work that you and your company does. But yeah, if you're not at that retirement age, there's still plenty of information there. But if you're closer to that, these deliverables would be very applicable at that point.
Makes sense. So you talked a little bit about your seminars you guys have in person, webinars virtually. So it sounds like there's a pretty big marketing strategy for educating prospective customers. So love to kind of understand from you, like how has marketing kind of played a role in helping the business stand out?
Yeah, I tell people in the business world, I tell them that we actually are a marketing company that actually does financial services. So that's always been kind of my hot button. I've always been interested in the process of marketing. And throughout my 32 years, it's changed dramatically, right? It's been calling out of the phone book when I first got started. Here's a list of people, call your friends and family and all that type of stuff, which was horrific. And then I got into different basic type stuff. But as the digital age came about and you could start what I call fishing with a commercial net versus, fly fishing, we really embraced that strategy. So, we understood the concept of kind of celebrity branding, that if people see you in the community, whether it's via TV or radio, there's an establishment of credibility that comes from that, perceived at least. So we didn't want to miss out on that. We went for that. And, we spent the money necessary and we got the proper ROI. And we've now been on 3 local radio stations for 5 years now. And it's really interesting. We've got a phenomenal listenership. The show has kind of shifted from pure financials into somewhat of a variety show. We get emails constantly, phone calls, all that good stuff. We've been on TV, local news and getting interviewed, things of that sort. But the digital marketing is really the biggest part, right? So, our Facebook, we use it extensively. We run Facebook ads, we run LinkedIn ads, and it drives everybody to either register for an in-person seminar or for when we do our webinars live as well. Now we evergreen them, but we do a lot of them live, and there's interaction on them and things of that sort. So when you look at kind of that wide net that's casted, it really does introduce us to the right people.
Yeah, you guys are fishing where the fish are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many people are genuinely looking for education.
Sure.
It's there's a lot of noise out there today, and it's getting tougher. Those headwinds that I had mentioned earlier, when people really think about it, it's like those are things that can be very disruptive to somebody's retirement. The mistakes can cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the challenge is you don't get a do-over, right? I mean, you only got one shot to do it right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
So how are you, you mentioned earlier you were, growing and scaling the business is probably one of the top challenges for you. Is that because you guys are seeing more enrollment, you're seeing more growth from, people who are looking for you guys? Is, just kind of from our audience, like there are people like yourself who are managing partners, CEOs, VPs of sales, VPs of marketing, who all have different challenges in growing and scaling the business. So why is it that you guys is scaling the toughest thing or something that you guys are trying to focus in on right now?
Well, we set a big vision, right? We set a big goal, and it's just about, kind of chasing that carrot, going after it. We're members of EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. There's a great book out about that. We've studied scaling up. We go to tons of conferences. All of our executives here are in executive coaching. We've been part of the strategic coach system as well. So, it's just, we're always chasing the goal. And what we've learned is that we don't live in what we call the gap, right? And the gap is the difference between where we want to be and where we are today, thinking about why aren't we, moving at a quicker clip. But then we kind of come to the realization that we're nowhere where we used to be. Yep. So we kind of, we celebrate the space that we're currently in, but we're still hungry to get to that next level. Sure. So, I would say that we're not necessarily displeased, with the scaling process. It's just a function of growth, right? It's just part of it. And as an entrepreneur, I mean, that's the game, right? It's what keeps you fired up. There's certainly frustrations along the way. It's people, process, and product. We've got a couple of those things nailed down, but they never kind of work perfectly all at the same time. So that's, kind of what we're working on.
Makes sense. Yeah. People, process, product. Yeah. And you have a big vision and goal to retire, right? Like what's going to get you there? What is that goal? Like, what is it that you want to be celebrating a year from now?
Well, it's a couple of things. I mean, we've got how many people we want to serve, because we really think we have tons of impact. We kind of bring that peace of mind to people. We think they deserve that. We think they deserve to know that everything is going to be okay in retirement. Mm-hmm. And when they come to that realization, it's an awesome feeling. There's a lot of reward just in that process. Sure. Yeah. Also, experiencing our clients' retirements and seeing them travel and seeing them spend time with their grandkids and doing the things that they dreamed and weren't sure they could, it's a big reward for us. So we focus on how many families do we impact. Mm-hmm. That obviously, kind of starts to trickle down into all the goals that we've set from a pure business KPI perspective. Mm-hmm. We want to 10x from where we are today. We want to get to a $2.5 billion book of business. Mm-hmm. We want to do that within the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. So there's numbers of things there, and we're data junkies. We know, all the numbers. We monitor them. We have Power BI dashboards and TVs all over the place, and our team is very focused on what the two key components, two key KPIs we're looking on, each and every month. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what, I don't know if I answered your question actually, but you got me.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to 10x today, get to 5 billion book of business within 5 years. I mean, that's if that's enough to get you to retire, let's get you there in 5 years.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I've, my wife and I talk all the time about retirement, and mm-hmm. I don't know what that looks like. I got to be honest with you. I don't play ice hockey anymore. I was a big ice hockey player for a long time, but the knees, the back, got overweight, all those kinds of things. I race cars. My chiropractor said can't do that anymore because I got all kinds of arthritis in my spine. I don't play golf. I don't play tennis. We vacation a lot. So I kind of see retirement as just taking off on more vacation. I can't see myself not being engaged in some capacity.
Sure.
And we've got a lot of nepotism in my business as well. So my mom and dad are in the business. They're 81 years old. They're still around here. And I think that keeps them young. My wife's in the business, and my daughter Samantha is our director of marketing. And I will tell you that came through an earned position. She started as an intern, I guess maybe 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. She kind of worked her way up. She does an exceptional job. So there's also a big element of building legacy. Sure. My staff is very young, and they have said, we want to build a company that goes beyond the founders. And sure. I thought that was inspiring. It was really exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what kind of ignites their fuel as well. They know they're part of it. So it's really cool.
I love it. That's great. It's great to kind of hear what even yourself being a serial entrepreneur and like, what does even retirement even freaking look like for me? Like, okay, maybe I keep my hands, tied in a few different places, but I don't want to be working, on the day-to-day stuff. And that's why you have your family there to help you and support you and hopefully take the business further. I just have one last question though about, your customers and, what they're doing with you over a long-term basis. Can you just help in kind of describing like what is a successful engagement look like? What is that testimonial of someone who's been partnered with Thrive, who's been able to get the advice that they need and able to see their retirement accounts grow? Like I just want to understand from your perspective, what does that success look like?
Well, I think there's two components to it. One is the emotional side, and then one is the financial side.
Okay.
It's interesting you say testimonial because it's the Securities and Exchange Commission just recently changed what they call the marketing rule. And it was such an archaic rule that they basically modified recently, where you could actually have people provide testimonials and social proof. So you have to do it right. You have to, disclose everything. As a matter of fact, on our website, we have numerous video testimonials. And I think if people visit that, and those are, we have to disclose this. Those are unpaid. We do not compensate people to provide those testimonials. So these things are coming from the heart. Mm-hmm. And when you watch them, and especially for me, you get emotional. It's like when you're in business, sometimes you get disconnected from the end result. But when you hear people talk about what their life looks like now, mm-hmm. and the comfort and the confidence, and the satisfaction that everything's going to be okay, like I said earlier, it's really right. So, what it looks like is that, right? That's on the emotional side. There's confidence, there's comfort, there's peace of mind. They know that they have gotten validation that they can do what they want to do in retirement. Mm-hmm. And from the financial side, it's that, number one, they're not going to run out of money during retirement. They're protected related to healthcare issues. Like that's all factored in and built. God forbid, they came down with some condition, Alzheimer's, dementia, chronic cancer, whatever it would be, that those expenses as healthcare costs are going through the roof doesn't wipe out them. Yeah. Or the surviving spouse. That's a big deal. We see that a lot of times too, because we deal with mostly, not intentionally, but just naturally, a lot of married couples. And you'll hear the concern about after one of them passes away, they want to make sure that the surviving spouse is fully protected. And a lot of times it's only one person in the relationship that really has the understanding of finance.
Sure.
So knowing that they've got a trusted advisor that when they're no longer here to kind of carry the torch financially and emotionally, that really brings a lot of satisfaction and comfort. So I think those are the two components that would describe what's success at the end of the day as a result of working with us.
Yeah. I can only imagine some of the situations that people must go through when they're not prepared for those life events that happen from a financial perspective. And I'm sure it's even myself, like thinking about like, okay, what happens if something were to happen to me in the next couple of days, like how am I prepared for that too, right? So it's something that's kind of always in the back of our mind. And so we do want to have organizations or healthcare or people that have our back to ensure that we're going to get there. It sounds like that's really what Thrive is all about. And in addition to helping people understand there's other ways out there to grow and make sure your assets are safe and make sure that you're safe and your family's going to be safe if anything were to happen.
That's it. It's all encompassing. And we know what those puzzle pieces are.
Right.
We want to make sure they at least understand them and be prepared for whatever the scenario.
And you're the experts, and you guys have a podcast, you have a radio show, you have seminars, webinars, conferences coming up. Like, where can people find you guys to get the advice that they need?
Yeah, again, the best place really is to start at our website, thrivefinancialservices.com.
Yep.
Look, you call us, everything's posted, contact information. We've got chat on there, live chat, all those different types of things. But that's where you can kind of enter the world of Thrive and figure out where you feel most comfortable gaining the information. But I will tell you, I always tell, on the radio, just give us a call. We'll kind of share a virtual cup of coffee and we'll talk and get to know each other. And you can ask us any questions. It's free. We give the answers. If you ultimately think you need help, you need somebody to kind of shepherd you through the process, then you'll let us know. You'll never get an ounce of pressure from us. We've been blessed, number one, that our business is growing. And I think it's based upon that attitude, right? If you do good for people, ultimately you receive back. So we don't work in a pressure way. It's just, it's actually a very nice way to do business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just encourage people to kind of visit the website and connect with us.
Yeah, that's the benefit of being on the same side of the table as someone versus on opposite sides of the table.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So as we wrap things up here, David, is there anything else that you'd like to share or anything else you think our listeners need to know, about you or the company that we haven't covered thus far that you're hoping to get out there?
I would just, and it's not like I want to hang the sword of Damocles over anybody's head right now, but I would say if you're, regardless of age, but certainly if you're getting close to retirement or have already entered retirement, I think we're going to have some challenging times going forward. I've been doing this for 32 years. I do geek out a little bit on trends and watching the markets and all of that. And it's not only what we do, but there's just a lot of telltale signs out there. Runaway inflation. The Fed is really trying to make a point right now. We see, I just saw something recently that consumer debt spending on credit cards has topped over $1.2 trillion. Default ratios are going up. Liquidity within the markets there's just a lot of things that I would just really encourage people, regardless of who you're looking for to help, kind of get your ducks in order. Just make sure that you've got everything kind of protected. You at least know what's going on, and just don't get blindsided. Don't think everything is going to be the way it always is. I always tell people, the only thing I can guarantee is the markets will go up, they'll go down, they'll go back up, they'll go back down. But as you get older, it's really important where you're at, because you don't want to be in the trough side of things, at that kind of right at that point that you need that money. So I would say, there's just a lot of craziness going on in the world. I just say keep your eyes open, get yourself educated. Yeah,
that's sound advice for sure from professional like yourself. We all need just that little bit of insight from someone who's been in this industry, been doing this for a very long time, to kind of help guide us as us novices are looking at the news and looking at the what Jim Cramer's saying, right, to kind of help us along the way. So it's always good to kind of hear from someone who's been doing this for a while, who's not out here getting paid to say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate your time, David, and I really enjoyed the conversation, what you guys are doing at Thrive. I feel like I've definitely learned a lot about you and what it's like to partner with Thrive and to work with you guys. So I appreciate you being here, part of the Business Ninjas podcast. Yeah, Max, it was fantastic. I really appreciate the time. It was good. Enjoyed it. Awesome. Thank you so much, David. That wraps up another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast. Everyone have a great rest of the day.